Galera. Hey guys, Flamengo greetings. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you're new here, I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and drop a like on the video. Here we go. Brought to you by Caravana do Haroldo. You can secure your spot at Flamengo's games with tickets included in Rio de Janeiro, Caravana do Haroldo's meet and greet service, and games outside of Rio as well. It's in the description, pinned comment, and you can also go to the Champions League with Caravana do Haroldo. Look, we also invite you to check out the Mais Slim program from Mais Cabello. You can lose weight in a healthy way without hair loss, taking care of your scalp. An industry leader, Mais Cabello is everywhere in Brazil. Just call Mais Cabello. You won't regret it. It's in the description and also in the pinned comment for you to take advantage of. Look, we have some important updates to share with you here, but I want to remind you that this jersey here is the Diamantes Negros. You can already get it now at Flamengo's official stores and at our store. We have our own store here on YouTube Shopping where you can buy the products, support our channel, and help Flamengo. These are official products from Brazil line, Brasiline, Adidas, and caps from Super Cap. You can get everything here, and once again, I want to send a kiss, leave it here, and let you know that it's in the description and in the pinned comment. Also, NP Florida, if you're going to have your car or your house in Florida, you can get your insurance right now with NP Florida. Man, Anna and her team will serve you in the best way possible. She's fantastic, seriously. I saw the athlete Marcao, right? Gerson's father, he took the guy's jokes to heart. I was just posting what Globo Esporte published, which was about Gerson. With the snow all over him in the cold, wearing the national team jersey, national team jacket, feeling cold. So, the athlete Marcão complained that there are family men who aren't journalists and all that. Marcão, I published it, I showed it, and others showed it too. Are you making fun of him there? No, I sneezed, he sneezed, and he thought I was joking, and he was talking. How can someone be a family man and think they can do that? Marcão, calm down, dear, calm down, because soccer has banter, And then, right, the newspaper, O Globo Esporte published it, and people obviously ended up doing those cross posts. And also, right, taking the fans' comments and, breathe, it's free, Marcão, breathe. That you ended up, making some decisions regarding your son that didn't work out. People made a really funny IAC, okay? I'm going to react to Pedrinho and Marcão here with you guys. Look, it's really funny. Here we go.
Nearly ready and resolved. Gerson must be on the list now, but it's not that simple. Let's prepare him for 2030. He'll be on the front line. Wait, but he's not a striker. No, on the front line of the project, he'll lead everything. What do you mean, front line? Organizing Flamengo's Cafe Fort shelves outside BH Supermarket. Is there better marketing? I can't believe it. What a joke.
It's messed up, man. And to organize Flamengo's Cafe Campeão, Flamengo's new sponsor. Look, very good, man. Very good. Soon we'll also be here announcing Cafe Campeão. And you'll be able to get it here on our channel. It'll be here, man. With Shopee, with everything, you'll soon be able to get Cafe Campeão. We're bringing everything to you, all the details about Cafe Campeão. Do you want to leave it with me while you get that or not? No, that's fine. So, guys, here's the thing. Let's go. I'm going to bring you some very important information about Aeroflá, okay? Aeroflá has been declared an intangible cultural heritage of the city of Rio de Janeiro. So Aeroflá is a popular demonstration made by the club's supporters. From Clube de Regatas do Flamengo, it is recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of the city of Rio de Janeiro. Congratulations, right? To Flamengo's supporters for the spectacular Aeroflá, we see Aeroflá being considered a heritage. Man, that's amazing, right? Amazing. And well-deserved, right, man? Flamengo's supporters already are, right? They're the eighth wonder of the world, aren't they? Look, Flamengo and Atlético Paranaense had the highest audience on Sport TV this season, okay? For those who like to complain, Flamengo earns more because everyone is so concerned about Flamengo, right? But they forget about Flamengo's audience, right? So look, 16th round, 15th for Flamengo. Yeah. Considering the sum of the platforms from the Globo Group, Premier, GE, Sport TV, more than 12 million people watched the matches of the round. The match between the two red and black clubs was the most watched among all the games broadcast. In addition, the 16th round recorded the highest audience reach of the Brazilian Championship since 2023, according to Lance. Okay? So, my friends, that's what I tell you, right? And there are still people who want to doubt Flamengo, who want to talk about Flamengo's audience, who want to talk about how much Flamengo earns. Give me a break, right? Seriously, look, I'm going to bring you some very important information right now, okay? So we can also bring the information from BAP, right? About Flamengo's situation, right? Fighting over the issue of players, right before the cup and everything else, which is really important. In fact, Pedro is a priority among the substitutes and could be called up if changes need to be made by the Brazilian national team, okay? According to journalist Bruno Cantarelli, who is also a fantastic commentator on Seleção Esporte TV, forward Pedro from Flamengo and defender Thiago Silva from Porto are the first substitute options for the Brazilian national team. Since they have both played in at least one World Cup, the pair are a safe bet for coach Carlo Ancelotti in case a substitution is needed due to injury. And the tendency is that Pedro or Thiago Silva will be brought in among the 26 called up, right? Because there are 26, but there could be a cut, and then they could be included among the 26 called up for the World Cup, okay? So Pedro's presence at the World Cup is not ruled out yet, nor is Thiago Silva's. It depends. If someone gets injured, obviously we're not going to root for anyone to get hurt. We don't want anyone injured, but it's important to point out that a change could still happen, all right? Look, I have some important information to share with you right now. This information is very important. President BAP is working behind the scenes to have the match against Coritiba in the Brasileirão postponed. On the day of the match, Flamengo will have at least 9 players missing. There's also the young goalkeeper, right, Leo Nanete, who was also called up. There are 10 players called up, counting him, and the number could increase with players who are still at risk of suspension, right? They'll be at risk of suspension. So this game against Coritiba, right, Flamengo understands that playing means being punished. It's like you're being punished for having a strong team, punished for having so many players called up for the World Cup, right? When Flamengo should actually be thanked for providing, whether you like it or not, man, these guys are playing at a high level and they're being called up, right? Flamengo has a wonderful training center. Flamengo basically puts together a national team and then these guys get called up, right? And then Flamengo is the one who gets punished because they'll have to play against Coritiba, missing a lot of players. But then Botafogo also has players called up, but not 9. Palmeiras doesn't have 9, man. No one has even half of that. There's no point in complaining. Flamengo is looking for what's fair, and Flamengo has 7 dates. So to play against Mirassol, to play against Coritiba, there are dates available. Come on, don't give me that nonsense. If that's the case, postpone everyone's games, but man, go cry yourself to sleep. Flamengo has the right. There are 9 players. The truth is, you guys always want to be favored, okay? But it won't do any good. Flamengo is looking for what's fair. Flamengo is looking for what's fair, okay? So we're bringing you the news that BAP is working behind the scenes, trying to get the match against Coritiba on the 30th postponed. Remember, Brazil plays Panama at Maracanã the next day, for God's sake. This is crazy. And there's still the issue, like, you have to hand over Maracanã to FIFA, to CBF. So can they even play the day before? There's still the issue with the field. That's another thing. It's surreal. It's unbelievable, my friends. Let's talk about the transfer market because there's a lot happening in the transfer market. We have to bring up this issue about Danilo for you, right? It's unlikely, isn't it, man? First, earlier we mentioned that a source connected to Flamengo's board said Flamengo had denied that they were making a high offer. They said Flamengo had already given up on the deal because the amount was too high and that they had left the door open for Palmeiras or a club from abroad. Flamengo had given up. Leila, for example, the information that came out was that Leila would beat any offer from Flamengo. And then new information starts coming out, right? So we reported that Flamengo was prioritizing signing a forward, that Flamengo was prioritizing a winger, and that they were going to look for players. They didn't target big name players. Instead, they scouted for talent in the market. That's the information they gave us, that it's unlikely at Flamengo again, right now under BAP's management, because back in Marcos Braz's time, what was unlikely would end up being a signing, but now we have unlikely. Because a source close to the board guarantees that no, that Flamengo has already given up on the deal, right? But according to Estadão and Caio Ribeiro also on Sport TV, they reported the following. The newspaper Estadão reported that Botafogo received an offer from Flamengo of 180 million reais, according to them. But that's the point. This offer may have been made before Flamengo gave up because the information we had is that they gave up, but it could be to throw people off. It always could, right? According to the former player, Caio Ribeiro, commentator for Sport TV, Flamengo made an offer and so did Palmeiras. Both made moves for Danilo, who is a standout for Botafogo, right? It's just that they've already indicated they prefer to sell to Europe. Flamengo supposedly made the highest offer, right? According to Caio Ribeiro, Palmeiras had offered less. Flamengo offered more, according to Caio Ribeiro. Our team found out that the club backed out of the negotiations because the amounts were considered too high. They believe they have enough defensive midfielders for that position. So Flamengo feels they're well covered in midfield, okay? So, according to Estadão and according to Caio Ribeiro, Flamengo would have made an offer. Yeah, the offer that came out earlier. From Palmeiras, which was 34 million euros. Yeah. Now what they're saying is that Flamengo offered 32 million euros, okay? Yeah, we do the math here. That's 187 million reais, and Botafogo didn't accept it because they wanted 40 million euros, okay? That was the information, that Palmeiras offered 34 million euros and Botafogo didn't accept it because they wanted 40. Now the information is different, right? Different outlets are reporting it. The previous information came from GE. Now the information from Estadão is that 187 is about 32 million euros. That Flamengo supposedly offered 32 million euros and that Palmeiras offered less, according to Caio Ribeiro. So, if the information from GE is correct, Palmeiras has already offered the 34 million euros and Flamengo has already given up. That's what they told us, right? Anyway, my friends, it's a soap opera. The situation is unfolding. I've already said that they prefer to sell abroad, but I trust the deal, okay? From the information I received, Flamengo, under these conditions, with Palmeiras offering more, wanting to outbid, and the guys asking for a lot, wanting 40 million euros, Flamengo wasn't going to reach that amount because they believe they're well covered in that position, okay? So, bringing you the reality of what we found out, and now there have been cases at Flamengo where they said the deal wasn't going to happen anymore, and then it happened later. So never rule it out, right? Even though Flamengo says they've given up, never rule it out. We always leave that possibility open. If there's interest, there's also interest in Luis Henrique and so on. You always leave that possibility open because it could still happen, right? Now, there's a defensive midfielder coming to Flamengo. That's already confirmed. A defensive midfielder coming to Flamengo, right? Right? He's being sent back. It's the midfielder Ryan Lucas, right? Yes. Loaned by Flamengo to Sporting CP. He was playing for Sporting B in the Portuguese second division. He's 21 years old, okay? Defensive midfielder. Man, he's a good kid. He's good, man, right? Yeah, he's on loan there from Flamengo. He's facing a deadlock behind the scenes, according to the channel Angelo Furtado. Angelo Furtado, the reporter, our partner, our friend. Yeah, he's facing a deadlock behind the scenes, involving the amounts for a possible permanent transfer. The club from Rio is asking for around 4 million euros, while the Portuguese are trying to cut the amount in half to 2 million euros. The talks continue without an agreement. If Flamengo and Sporting in Portugal don't reach an agreement, there's a possibility the player will be returned to Flamengo, okay? So his investigation, together with Marcelinho Mariano, right? Let me see what page it is here. It's Marcelinho Mariano, right? Mariano Flar, okay? So Angelo Furtado is bringing the news that there's a defensive midfielder who might be coming back, returning to Flamengo. A defensive midfielder arriving at Flamengo, confirmed information that Flamengo is waiting for a possible negotiation, right, with Sporting. If it doesn't happen, he returns to Flamengo. So Flamengo already has a lot of defensive midfielders and could have even more. So it doesn't really make sense to spend all that money on Danilo. Flamengo should sign a forward. If it were Luis Enrique, I'd want him, right? I'll tell you guys that if it was about prioritizing something, I agree. Flamengo has to go after a forward, even though the information is that Flamengo will prefer cheaper and younger players, okay? Through scouting, look, let me see how people are reacting. This is Source ANAP. Flamengo has a lot of defensive midfielders. Flamengo needs a forward as a backup for Pedro, 2 fullbacks, and a backup for Arrascaeta, which is Figueiras. Rodrigo said if they bring Danilo and Luis Enrique, we won't even need to play with fullbacks, but Flamengo still has to bring him. Yes, he plays better than most of our current midfield. He scores goals and will become even more valuable because of the World Cup. What can you do, right? Maybe, but I think the midfield already has a lot of options, right? Yeah, you don't want a defensive midfielder, but you're struggling a lot. The absence of Arrasca is really noticeable. Today, we could see that Jorginho and Saul can't handle it. Jorginho can't handle 90 minutes, but he's a great player, right? Saul was fine today. I have no complaints about Jorginho, really. Flamengo needs to sign a fullback and a striker who can score goals. That's what people are saying, right? Duarte Quinho, yeah, Mando Silva. Flamengo is actually doubling down, making Palmeiras spend even more. Biap had warned about this, hadn't he? Yeah, I also think this is Flamengo trying to raise the price, so Palmeiras either doesn't sign or has to pay more. It's Flamengo raising the stakes, right? Inflating the market so others have to pay more. They could have gotten involved with Barbosa too, right? Right? Sam Denti could have gotten involved with Barbosa, so at least you know. That would have inflated Barbosa's price, made things harder for Palmeiras too. Now he's there. I know Eagle doesn't want to negotiate and all that. They're just trying. Yeah. To close the deal. But Eagle, they say Eagle doesn't have any power and all, but they're involved over at Botafogo, okay? He'll end up at Palmeiras anyway. It's already settled and they're paying. Still, Flamengo should have tried, right? Yeah. Now let me talk to you guys, okay? About Almada, right? Yeah, Boca Juniors is outsmarting Flamengo and Palmeiras for Thiago Almada. Representatives of the Argentine team traveled to Spain in recent days for a meeting with officials to discuss details of the agreement. For me, that's a huge mistake, an absurd one by Flamengo and Palmeiras, but especially by Flamengo. Man, he was the ideal backup, the perfect substitute for... It's not Carrascal. Carrascal you can negotiate. Even if he plays well in the World Cup, hopefully they negotiate Carrascal. But Thiago is different. Thiago Almada, man. For Thiago Almada. Oh, hey, Thiago, it's you who's going to confirm this one, huh? But Thiago Almada, my friends, man, he plays really well. And Palmeiras is also interested along with Flamengo, right? They even discussed internally some deal structures for a loan move. Palmeiras tried. Flamengo also considered it, right? So Boca Juniors intensified negotiations to sign the 25-year-old attacking midfielder, sending representatives to Spain in the last few days to meet, right, with the directors and discuss all the necessary details. So Boca is trying for the loan to swoop in, right? They're trying to sign Almada. Remember that the Europeans shelled out 30 million euros, about 194 million reais at the time, to buy 100% of the Argentines' economic rights. With Olympique de Lyon from France, okay, Almada? In this 25/26 season, he played in 40 games, but didn't have such impressive numbers, okay? Like in his time at Botafogo, there were only 4 goals and 2 assists. Is it worth it? I think it's worth taking advantage of this good moment and signing him. If we're paying 30-something million for Danilo, I'd sign Almada instead. Almada is a forward. But Flamengo already said they're going to scout. They're going to sign younger and cheaper players, right? Almada is young, right? But he's not cheap. Honestly, I think it would be a great deal to sign Almada. What do you guys think? Comment here It will be very important for me to read your comments about Almada. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. On YouTube, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. Thanks for watching. Greetings, Jogo dos Negros. This is Flamengo. Take care. Thanks. I'm out.